Richard, very good evening to you. I suppose my first question is, clearly you guys are quite angry, I might suggest, about what the Prime Minister's had to say this week. What are you actually angry about?
Well, the fact that he's essentially given licence to the far left, the likes of the masked thugs Antifa, to essentially come at us, come at Nigel Farage. He literally used the words arms, take up arms and attack, go for the enemy. I mean, just the most extraordinary language. If we use that sort of language against our political opponents, I mean, we'd have had the police knocking on the door, for heaven's sake. It's just outrageous and totally unbecoming of a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
But at the same time, Richard, I mean, this is the rough and tumble of politics, isn't it? I mean, look at what some people inside Reform have said in the past, what the President of the United States has said in the past, stuff that you've agreed with. I mean, this language is battered around all the time, isn't it?
No, it's not actually. Not suggesting that you take up arms, particularly at a sensitive time just a couple of weeks after Charlie Kirk was brutally assassinated, and just 2 weeks after Nigel's security has been downgraded by 75% by the government. So, yeah, frankly, it's just completely inappropriate. And yeah, you know, this is supposedly the kind and compassionate bunch on the left. Well, far from it. These are the masked thugs, now led by a Prime Minister, it seems, who is inciting violence against his political opposition. Well, it's disgraceful.
I'm sure that is not what the Prime Minister would say he was saying. But Richard...
It's literally what he said on his speech. He said, take up arms against the enemy.
Elon Musk, what do you think about him? And he had to say at that rally in London just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, talked about civil war in this country.
He did, and I said that was inappropriate language. I mean, fine, we believe in free speech, and yet there's rough and tumble, but there is such a thing as, there's a difference between free speech and inciting violence. And as far as we're concerned, the Prime Minister crossed the line. That's a matter of judgment. That's our judgment. And let me tell you and your viewers, if anything happens physically to any of our Reform activists or elected councillors, frankly, I will hold the Prime Minister personally responsible.
Yeah, but people in the past talk about fighting racism. They don't literally mean it, Richard. You know this. I mean, by the way, they've been pretty century language used. So, Richard, but by the way, so Nigel Farage once said any normal and fair-minded person would have a right to be concerned if a group of Romanian people suddenly moved in next door. Why? I mean, that in many ways.
That's not it. That's not saying
people...
take farms. I'm sorry.
But Richard, you honestly literally think the Prime Minister
literally suggested he gave licence to Antifa yesterday to take up arms. He incited violence. He is responsible personally for anything physically.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't think the Prime Minister intended that way, or any right-minded person would think that they literally meant taking up arms.
I'm just telling you, those are the words he used. So if anybody does take up arms and breaks the law, he is personally responsible. And he would hold us to account if we use that language. It takes two to tango.
But language does matter. I mean, that's an argument you would make, even in a country with free speech. I mean, have you been concerned by some of the statements? I make the point about Romanian people because, you know, language has been... If you were a Romanian person in this country, you might feel uncomfortable with some of the language that's been used by members of the Reform Party, previously UKIP and Brexit before. And by the way, it's not just Romanians, but other groups as well.
It's a daft point. We haven't said take up arms against your political opponents. That's what the Prime Minister said, and he will be held to account for it.
OK, just on security, do we know the reason why Nigel Farage's security detail has been downsized?
I tell you what, why don't you ask that question to the Prime Minister? Seems a bit coincidental to me. A couple of weeks ago, the security gets downgraded, and then you have a Prime Minister that incites violence against Nigel Farage from the far left thugs, the Antifa lot.
You're genuinely suggesting there is a conspiracy here to somehow harm Nigel Farage from inside Downing Street?
I'm just telling you, we are absolutely furious. And this is, yeah, we're just very, very angry with the Prime Minister of this country, who's making us all poorer and is now inciting violence against his political opponents. And it's a coordinated attack with the other cabinet members, one of whom suggested that Nigel Farage had flirted with the Hitler Youth. Absolutely shameful, disgraceful.
Indeed, I mean, we're trying to find here in the speech, what is the direct quote, Richard? Sorry, I haven't got the Prime Minister's script in front of me. What did
I've got better.
say?
That's what he said. He used the words enemy and he said he'd take up arms.
Yeah, but it obviously matters in context. I mean, I could use the word enemy here.
Yeah, the context was that he was having a brutal verbal assault against Nigel Farage and reform. That's the context. It was, by the way, the context of most of his speech, the context of most of what he's been saying in recent days. Look, we're going up in the polls. He looks ridiculous, but regrettably, we do live in a more tense, anxious time, partly because of some of the hopeless things that this government has done, and people are very angry.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know that David Lammy did some row back on the Nazi point. My producer has found the quote. Apparently, is that those who are the enemy of national renewal, essentially that we should fight them. That just sounds. Because they're an enemy of national renewal. That sounds like... But people use the word fight and taking on their enemies in politics all the time. You and I have been around politics for a long time. That's quite a stretch, I would suggest here, Richard.
No, I don't suggest that at all. That's the language, and you've just reaffirmed that I'm correct in...
Well, we haven't found the word arms.
Our fury at what this Prime Minister is doing. He's giving licence to the likes of Antifa, and we're not having it. We're not having it. We're calling it out for what it is. He's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, right? He's not the head of some group of thugs around the street corner.
Do you think that you or Nigel Farage has made other people uncomfortable in the past, potentially incited people to be racist or xenophobic in the past? You don't think anything you've said or Nigel Farage has said over the years has done that?
I certainly hope not. I don't think so. And I've never used the sort of language that the Prime Minister used yesterday in his speech that I can recall.
There you go. That was Richard Tice speaking to me a little earlier. Lots of shaking of heads during that interview, and we'll get the response from the panel in just a second. But let's get the response to what we heard around Nigel Farage's security, because the House of Commons has said that decisions about protection are subject to a rigorous risk-based assessment, but they don't get into arrangements for specific MPs. And the Home Office on this have said decisions on MP security are made independently of ministers. You'll also have heard my to and fro going back and forth there with what the Prime Minister actually said during his speech. As I made clear, I didn't have his speech in front of me as I was conducting that interview. But for clarity, here is what the Prime Minister had to say.
Let me say this, because whilst we must come together to fight reform with everything that this movement has, we must go into that battle armed, not just with words and condemnation, but with action. And that means tackling all the problems that they prey upon.
So there is the direct quote. He did say about taking up arms. Many people would not take it literally, but Richard Tice and others are furious that some might.